We all know by now that Russia has officially begun a full-scale invasion of Ukraine. A British member of parliament, Tobias Ellwood, chair of the Defense Select Committee, said a NATO division should have been stationed in Ukraine as a deterrent. Ukraine is not a NATO member, but has requested membership. If Kiev falls, history will ask why the West didn't do more. 6 months ago, I called for a division, a NATO division, to be moved into Ukraine. That is what Ukrainians were requesting, and that would have deterred this invasion, Ellwood said. That would have been enough to make Putin think twice, but we didn't do that. We actually did the opposite. We declared that we would not send any NATO troops into Ukraine. Now, as horrible as it would be to fight a war now, it will be a lot worse to fight an even bigger war 10 years from now. And let's look at some brief history that supports this. This is exactly what happened leading up to World War II. Western countries appeased Hitler to avoid war until it was too late. Hitler only wanted the Rhineland, and then he only wanted Austria. And he just kept taking piece by piece. While the West did nothing, the Nazi Empire got bigger and stronger until finally there was no alternative but to go to war with a much more powerful enemy. Even if this doesn't happen with Russia, we are sending a terrible message to the world. Appeasement never works, like World War II taught us. Putin will not stop at Ukraine, and we're giving the green light to other bad actors around the world to do what they want. Who's to say Xi Jinping and China won't decide to invade Taiwan next? Dictators and other bad actors will think they have free reign to do what they please. China will feel even more emboldened than they already are to invade Taiwan. I see no way that letting Russia take over Ukraine leads to any way, shape, or form or hope of a better world or a better future 10 years down the line. Just like when investing in the stock market, you have to take a long-term view of things. Where does the fall of a sovereign democratic nation in Eastern Europe get us in 10 years? After taking over Ukraine, Russia will be right up against the borders of the NATO countries. Other dictators will feel emboldened to conquer their neighbors, without the fear of military intervention from international countries. Most importantly, millions of good, innocent people will suffer and lives will be lost. Now, Ukraine is a sovereign, democratic nation, and we're going to let them get taken over. Putin is not going to stop with these regions in eastern Ukraine. He won't stop until the entire country of Ukraine has been taken and a puppet government has been installed. Russia has lists of all the people they're going to take out, kill, throw into Siberia where they will never be heard from again. We already have the intelligence that confirms this. The U.S. has warned that Russia has a kill list of Ukrainians to be detained or killed. This is a war on the Ukrainian people. Now, while Ukraine's military is no joke, I think they're going to give Russia a much bigger fight than they bargained for. But in the long run, there's no way that Ukraine alone can repel this attack. Their fate is all but sealed. Russia is invading them from 3 sides, and they have a much bigger military. Now, economically, Russia gives Europe almost 50% of its oil as of 2020. Much of it flows through Ukraine. Additionally, Russia exports somewhere between 10 and 20% of the world's total oil and natural gas supply. Now, if we go a little further around the world, 92% of the advanced semiconductors come from Taiwan. Now, semiconductors are used in everything from phones and TV to computers, medical devices, and even cars. China may get the last bit of encouragement that it needs from this debacle in Ukraine to finally go ahead and invade Taiwan. We've already seen the news. China keeps testing Taiwan. There's been some Chinese aircraft flying into Taiwan's air defense zone. Just today, February 24, 9 Chinese aircraft entered Taiwan's defense zone. The ripple effects will not stop at Ukraine, and this is going to spill all over the world. Putin is a Cold War-era thug, and despite his concerns with NATO encroachment or that Ukraine and Russian history are deeply linked, the reality is that he just wants to restore the USSR to its former glory. The great Edmund Burke once said, "The only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is for good men to do nothing." By avoiding the escalation to a larger scale conflict today, we run the grave risk of fighting even bigger wars and creating vastly bigger problems in the future.